Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
It's so cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the...
Whoopi Goldberg recently experienced a moment of such intense on-air frustration that it felt like a scene pulled straight from a dramatic screenplay. The atmosphere was thick with tension, marked by heavy pauses and a palpable sense of disbelief. The catalyst? Greg Gutfeld, whose sharp-witted commentary managed to bypass the usual daytime defenses. If you thought the world of morning talk shows was predictable, wait until you see this. It wasn't just a disagreement. It was a total breakdown of the status quo that left the audience in a state of shock.
Suspended Whoopi for 2 weeks because she said the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. She said this on a show called The View, which makes everything about race. Except now.
The Holocaust isn't about race.
No,
it's not about race.
It is. It's about a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid.
This latest spectacle makes typical television disputes look like a polite afternoon tea. 1 minute, Whoopi is delivering a sermon from her familiar seat of authority on The View. The next, she is visibly unraveling under the pressure of public scrutiny. The source of this friction is Greg, the late-night host who treats satire like a high-precision instrument. When his brand of irreverent humor collided with Whoopi's traditional approach, the result was an immediate and chaotic atmospheric shift.
Otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment based...
To be fair, this wasn't an isolated incident. The panel has been drifting toward this kind of high-stakes confrontation for quite some time. What used to be a platform for balanced debate has increasingly become a fortress of self-affirmation, where 5 voices often harmonize in a chorus of moral certainty. At the heart of this storm is Goldberg, who frequently finds herself at the intersection of loud conviction and the harsh light of opposing viewpoints, often mistaking a high volume for a winning argument.
Talk about groundbreaking to actually hear a celebrity say something mean about the Taliban. How dare they compare them to Trump? The Taliban should sue. Guess they ran out of Hitler analogies. So as they bash the president, I'm reminded how entertainers rarely express any rage over any strand of misogynist Islamism. If they did, we might take their rage toward Trump seriously. A reminder, the Taliban throw acid in girls' faces for going to school. Yeah, I guess that's like defunding Planned Parenthood. Radical Islam is all for killing gays, and I guess that's the same as making some rude jokes. No, Trump's past rudeness is a product of a rude culture, one fed and fattened by a coarse entertainment industry.
Now, picture the scene. Greg, armed with a smirk and a folder full of satirical receipts, finally redirected the narrative. His rebuttal was so pointed that it resonated far beyond the Fox News studio, landing squarely in the middle of The View's table. Whoopi's reaction was a mix of gasps and dismissive eye rolls, the quintessential look of someone who is fundamentally unaccustomed to being challenged on their own home turf by a master of the clapback.
Apparently they're throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which means The View is very unhappy. Ooh. Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Let's look at the mechanics of this clash. This wasn't a simple insult. Greg systematically dismantled the logic behind her most recent talking points. While she leaned into the familiar narratives of her echo chamber, he highlighted the inconsistencies with surgical precision. Instead of meeting him with a reasoned defense, Whoopi fell back on her signature move, emotional grandstanding. She has mastered the art of playing the aggrieved party, a performance that often looks more like theater than genuine vulnerability. The show has become a digital petri dish for ideological safety, where actual dissent is often treated as a foreign invader. The hosts often seem to be in a competition to see who can deliver the most extreme take with the highest level of confidence, regardless of the underlying facts.
Are small, but who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, let's check out this clip from Monday's episode of The View when the ladies put their science caps on and discuss the solar.
The second anyone dares to step outside the collective mindset, they are met with a wall of noise or a quick transition to a commercial break. It's less a conversation and more a live-action social media thread come to life. So, when Greg entered the chat, he wasn't just being difficult. He was lobbing logical challenges into a house built on sentiment. Goldberg, caught in the middle of a monologue, looked like she had accidentally walked into a seminar she hadn't prepared for. Her response was a masterpiece of performative exasperation. The glare, the heavy sigh, and the eventual spiral into a whirlwind of vague references. It was a production that had the behind-the-scenes crew scrambling to keep the segment from falling apart entirely.
The rapture is here. The rapture's here. And then also I learned that the cicadas are coming.
Cicadas.
Although I love for the first time in like 100 years. For the first time in many, many years.
No, every 17 years this happens.
Well, that's not what I read, but maybe, you know, maybe you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that, you know, either climate change exists or something is really returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground.
No. It happens, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Amazing. Wow. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
The truth is, Greg didn't have to work overtime. He simply held up a mirror to the format. That mirror reflected a show that often prioritizes outrage over insight and a panel that seems increasingly allergic to conservative perspectives. By using satire to pierce the bubble of self-importance, Gutfeld exposed the fragility of the entire setup. While Whoopi struggled to find a counter-argument, her co-hosts attempted a circle the wagons maneuver, framing the critique not as a valid professional disagreement, but as a personal assault on their entire mission. They turned a moment of accountability into a group therapy session where feelings are the ultimate authority.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slaves.
However, the world outside the studio saw things differently. The digital landscape exploded with memes, reaction clips, and commentary. It was an open season for media critics who have watched Whoopi's confidence crash into reality before. This isn't her first time acting as if every disagreement is a historic grievance, and it likely won't be her last. There is a certain irony in being so consistently vocal while remaining insulated from outside perspectives. It's like a book club where no one has read the text, but everyone wants to give a keynote speech about the font on the cover. Greg didn't attack her person. He challenged her ideas, which in some circles is treated as the ultimate heresy.
He claims Biden's loose bowels should make voters throw in the towels. Goldberg's rational so weak she doesn't care if Biden can't speak. Yes, it's a magical land where little Debbies make big bellies and brain cells go to die. This week on The View, Whoopi doubled down on her support of Joe Biden's reelection. No surprise. But it was her peculiar poo-powered prose that piqued my potty predilection. Roll it.
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence.
In the aftermath, Greg moved on with the casual air of someone who had simply stated the obvious. He didn't need to gloat because the contrast spoke for itself. Whoopi brought emotional fireworks to a logic-based debate and found herself outmatched. While she tried to win the room with facial expressions, Greg stayed grounded in common sense. By the end of the segment, the usual smugness had been replaced by the haunted look of someone forced to face a reality they didn't script. Of course, by the next day, the shields were back up, and the narrative was rewritten to ensure the echo chamber remained intact.
Pants, and in fact, she'll stand right behind him. Not only does she have a terrible case of Trump derangement, she also has no sense of smell or a really weird fetish. And I'm not one to kink shame, to each his own. I guess you just got tired of Joy's crap. Kat, you know what was the most interesting thing about this? Was the audience reaction. Like, when she started talking about poop being everywhere, the audience was, like, frozen. They were like, I don't, what is going on here? Whoopi has a poop problem.
What does she mean she has poopy days?
These public breakdowns are the inevitable result of living in a world where your ideas are never tested. Greg Gutfeld is one of the few figures willing to walk into the hornet's nest and point out the obvious. Perhaps there's a lesson here about breaking out of the bubble before the bubble breaks you. But then again, without the unintentional comedy provided by these daytime meltdowns, what would the internet talk about? Whoopi provides the dramatic TED Talks, while Greg provides the punchlines. It's a symbiotic relationship that keeps the ratings moving, even if the discourse is running in circles.
These are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went...
Greg doesn't need a panel of people nodding in agreement to validate his presence. He doesn't rely on theatrical tears or the victim card. He uses humor to make difficult truths more digestible. Meanwhile, The View continues to treat every opposing thought as a crisis. They aren't looking for a dialogue. They are looking for claptrap. That specific mix of applause and self-congratulation that happens when you say something everyone in the room already believes. Gutfeld, conversely, thrives in the friction. He understands that the line between comedy and commentary is where real influence lives, which is why his audience continues to grow while traditional formats are struggling to keep up.
Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by The View's gravitational pull. All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring.
At the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. While The View relies on a specific demographic and a rigid format, the digital audience is gravitating toward transparency and wit. The internet roast was a landslide victory for Greg, as the comment sections turned into a standing ovation for common sense. The empire of ego tried to strike back, but it turns out that most people are tired of the lecture. We owe a debt of gratitude to these daytime spectacles, though, because without them, we'd never truly appreciate the sheer scale of the divide between the studio and the real world. Bravo, Whoopi, for the unintended entertainment.